Hey everybody, my name is Pablo the Penguin, and today I'll be talking a little bit about cross-chain governance, cross-chain communications between protocols. A little bit about me, I'm Pablo. I am a core contributor at Cheetah Protocol, and we're a CDP stablecoin that works on-chain. A little overview on what we're going to be going through today is a little bit of the cross-chain interactions that we do within Cheetah, as well as some of the governance stuff that we do today and how we are improving them with the CCIP. And close a little bit with how it integrates within the different multisigs and the different interactions that we do within our protocol. So in general, when you look at all these lending protocols, you have either multiple chains or they're cross-chain. Multiple chains is basically every protocol is separate on every chain, similar to what you see with Aave or Uniswap, where you have an LP on, say, Base, or you have it on Ethereum. It doesn't necessarily translate to being that same LP on Polygon. But when it comes to cross-chain, you have an element that interacts between chains. For example, Synthetics or Abracadabra or Cheetah as well. You have a token that you could mint, say, MAI or DAI or MIM, and you can take that token and move it to a different chain and repay a loan. That's, in essence, cross-chain. Now, omni-chain, ideally you would have something like the collateral be moved around, but none of this has been implemented in most protocols yet, including cool things like Aave portals, which are still in the governance stages yet. So as we see more interactions cross-chain and kind of leveraging that idea that the block space is the same between the different chains, you'll be able to do more of that. As it regards to Cheetah, well, we're an over-collateralized stablecoin pegged to the dollar, and it enables minting MAI, which is the stablecoin, and it utilizes NFTs to track the loan and the borrowed amounts. Cheetah is on a bunch of different chains. You can access it on Ethereum or Polygon or Base, Optimism, pretty much any chain you wish, we're there. And what it enables is, well, minting of MAI. And MAI is a loan-backed stablecoin that it can be minted through, say, depositing ETH or an ETH ST-ETH position. So you basically have access to your capital without necessarily needing to sell a token to access that. And that's where MAI comes in. MAI has 3 different levels depending on which chain we're on. So you have the canonical MAI, which is MAI that exists on a chain. And there's liquidity incentives that go in, there's partnerships that go in with that. And as the chain develops and becomes more robust being it has more applications such as oracles and other bridging solutions, you're able to integrate vault lending where people can actually mint the MAI on that specific chain and then move it around. And then level 3 is when the chain is sufficiently secure enough, we can deploy a governance module where users can vote. So that's in general what makes up a Cheetah high level. Now, where Chainlink powers us is currently our oracles. So pricing all the different collaterals and looking at the health of every loan, we use Chainlink price feeds for that. And it makes it super easy for us to look at the value of an asset, trust that it's secure and it's not being front run or it's not changing because one chain might be differently priced than another. And so this enables us to securely mint MAI backing certain collaterals. So when we go to governance, it's a little murkier given how cross-chain a protocol can be. So we get community signaling through snapshot.pages, and basically it provides an easy way for users to signal if they want something to happen or not. As you can see here, we've added different collaterals, and they're voted on, for example, for CKVM, adding Matic and ETH. People vote on that, and on the other side, the execution is managed by guardians and signers. The safe architecture is multi-sig, and you might have seen this before, but it's basically a contract that enables many different people to agree to sign a transaction, and then the transaction gets executed. And that's Gnosis Safe. Now, there's 2 cool things that Gnosis Safe does, but not a lot of people do with it, but it's the modules and guards. And these modules and guards can basically change the entirety of how the multisig works, which enables the future for cross-chain governance. A little bit more about how these safe work within Cheetah is we have the guardians. The guardians manage the vaults. The vaults manage the loans. And so you can see there's a cheat contract, the guardians, and the interest flows through the different vaults into a collector contract that then displays how much money has been made between the interest rates or the performance fees associated with any different loan or collateral. And then it all flows through into the revenue managers, which basically just a little bit more math, collecting all the values and then sending it over to liquidity incentives for either the governance token or the my token. So very high level, how it all works. It can get very complicated when you're working in DeFi, but at the end of the day, it's kind of peeling the onion. It makes you cry sometimes, but there's a lot of layers in crypto. Now, how we make this better is we added these modules that enable different safes to talk to each other. That's the coolest part. So we don't necessarily need to change how we do things today, but now we have a little extra message sending capability. So you can have a safe on Ethereum, message the safe on, say, Polygon or CKVM, and it can execute a transaction from Ethereum, which, if you know a little bit about ETH, is that there's a ton of oracles, there's a ton of solutions that enable you to do governance directly from ETH. So you can then control every single other deployment from mainnet. So CCIP, you guys know, it facilitates consensus, and consensus between governance modules as you can send messages. And what we've done is created an optimistic message passing module that you can send a message from one safe to another. It waits a delay. The delay can also be stopped by the multi-sig signers, but otherwise, if everything is good, the transaction goes through, and you're able to basically execute across the chain. You guys probably know all this stuff already since we're here, but high level, there's routers for Chainlink, and you can send messages, and they're all protected through the ARM network and a bunch of other stuff. You can do a bunch of data. You can transfer a bunch of data. It's a few kilobytes at least, so you can pretty much send a full payload of a transaction with like maybe 20 different transactions per time. So it really opens up a lot of flexibility for cross-chain governance. So there's two ways that you can do this. The initial one, which is how we're going to be doing it first, is single chain, where it's a hub and a spoke. So Ethereum being the main hub, and the spokes being every other L2 or alternative L1 or whatever other chain that we may decide to be on. You can execute a transaction that is meant to go to Polygon from Ethereum, send that payload, and it wait at the time lock delay, and it will update, say, the vault parameters, or maybe add a new vault. Then you have something where it's a little bit more multi-chain. So you have a chain that could collect the different votes, or you can have Polygon and Optimism and Arbitrum have different governance contracts, and they can all message Ethereum to make a change. And so you have different areas where users can vote on and then basically collect all the votes. A lot of functionality comes out of just simple message passing that you can trust. A lot of other things we can do. Well, the execution with a delay, the guardians can come in and veto the payload in case something is malicious. And you can also skip the delay in case there's an emergency vote and you want to make sure that that gets executed quickly. We're going to do a quick live demo, but we're only doing a presentation, but it will be available soon. So no demo at the moment, but if you check out our GitHub, you'll see the code base and you can deploy your own version of a module. In general, this is what we're doing with cross-chain governance. So you can basically execute votes on one chain to another, and you can message pass the messages quickly and basically, pass the bus test at the end of the day. If your multi-sig signers are not available or they're on a flight, you can still use governance to fully automate your protocol. There's other things that we want to do with CCIP as well, such as a ferry-style system, so you can basically aggregate a lot of users transactions. So let's say there's 50 people wanting to convert Polygon Mai into Optimism Mai. You can just lower the cost for that per user by transferring, say, every 24 hours, and you can potentially even make that subsidized for the end user. And you can codify the cross-chain states. So how much can be transferred per chain so that not one chain holds too much of one token. Potentially for lending purposes, you may not want that. So there's a lot of flexibility when it comes to knowing what data is where, and you can update it, constantly update each other between the deployments. So that's a quick tidbit, and just to reiterate, I'm Pablo the Penguin, and you can check the proposer execution module on my GitHub, and check us out on my.finance.